Alright guys, what is up and welcome back to Garry's Mod. Today we're going to be taking a look at a realistic approach to Garry's Mod. Something that I don't really do videos on very often, and this is one that I used to use constantly in the past. Before I even did any videos on Garry's Mod, I loved this mod, and that is Sharpeye. So what is Sharpeye? Well, let me pull a weapon out and show you. This is Sharpeye. So you might notice that the reticle looks a little bit different, my crosshair. And that is because, well, a lot of things have changed, and it's not just the crosshair. So let me delve into this deeper, guys. So you'll notice when I walk, the first thing you'll notice is that when I move my mouse, you can see that it kind of lags, or the cursor kind of lags behind this other crosshair that I have. As you can see, there's like a centerpiece, and then I have this little tiny crosshair I can move around, and then the screen kind of has to take some time to catch up. And this is pretty cool because this adds a bit of a sway mechanic to the game, and it looks really cool just seeing your weapon move like that. Like, see how the weapon looks? It's so cool how you can move it like that. And it even has some advantages because where you'll shoot is that little tiny crosshair. That's where you're going to be shooting at, not the big one in the center. That's just kind of like the center of your screen. And then the little one is where you'll actually shoot, and we'll delve into this deeper. But before we do anything, I also want to open up the menu to show you guys what this menu looks like. And if anyone did suggest this, they'll be down below, of course. But I don't know if anyone did because, well, if they did, it was probably like a year ago. But this is a very old mod, guys. But I figured it's time to finally do it. So you open up the menu and you'll probably be a little bit intimidated. I was when I first opened it up. And you'll notice a few features here. Sorry, guys, it's a little small for me. I have a 2K screen. I don't know why these things are so tiny. But you can enable or disable the motion module, and that'll pretty much make it to where, as you can see, if you focus, I'm kind of moving a bit because I am breathing, and there is a breathing mechanic in the game. You can enable or disable sounds. You can enable or disable the whole crosshair, which is pretty awesome, but of course you'd probably want to keep that on. And then you can enable or disable the tunneling effect, which is like these like black borders around the screen, and I guess it adds immersion. Another thing this has is it has a first-person death cam. I get a lot of comments asking me, hey Necros, where did you get that first-person death cam? And usually it's the Gore mod, because I believe that has one built in. But if you want one, you can also get it from here. So that's a pretty cool little nifty feature. Another thing as well is the relax mode, which is pretty much like a smoothed view. As you'll see, now I don't utilize that small crosshair, but it is still moving, and it is still where my bullets will go if I shoot. For instance, if I shoot here, you can see the bullets are going a little bit higher, but then they're going a bit lower now when it goes below that point. And depending on where that is how twitchy you'll be, and you'll see what I mean in a second. I'm going to turn relax mode on because that's a big feature of this. Another thing is you can disable motion in third person. I highly recommend this because you don't want all these weird bobbing and wobbly effects when you're in third person. It's just a bit unnecessary if you ask me. Another thing is you can disable bobbing for the tool gun and fizz gun. So let me show you this real quick. Now we don't have bobbing really enabled yet, but this is the fizz gun equipped. And when you have this with the tool gun, you won't bob. Why would you bob? Well, we'll get on to that in a second. Another thing is you can just completely disable bobbing entirely. So when we do enable bobbing, it will show us actually moving up and down, and this disables that if you hate that. One thing else you could do is you could change your breathing mode. You could do it based on their player model, or you could do female, male, gas mask, or no breathing if you don't like that. So I'm going to keep it on male because that is actually what we will be doing. Alright guys, next up we go to details. Now, first things first, we're going to go into bobbing because I know that that's way down here, but I really want to focus on that. So I'm going to crank up the bobbing a bit. And there's other things here, like you could turn breathing simulation. Pretty much, it'll make it to where how often you'll have to breathe. Some of these things can be hard to read because they're actually cut off. Another thing is leaning intensity. When you lean around corners, which I'll show off right now. Well, first we'll show off the bobbing. So, you'll see that I'm not bobbing. And then when you lean, which only comes into effect when you're sprinting for some reason. But I'll sprint and turn. Okay, well, that's because we have leaning off. Alright. This is bobbing, guys. So check this out. Tell me this is not cool. It adds an amazing amount of realism. Now, I know you're probably saying, well, hey, when I walk, it doesn't look like that. And that's true. It's not as apparent as you see it right here. And it's probably not that apparent even without that. But the point is that this is if you want to add a bit of more realism to the game, or just some immersion to like make it feel like you're actually walking. And I'll show off that leaning now. So when you run and turn, see how I'm leaning like that? And you can adjust that in the settings. So say like I can run down here. Let me find a corner. You can see like you can lean like that, and it kind of gives you a bit of what's coming up next. So like you can kind of lean a bit, and you know it's easier to turn like that, like just like that. It's also really cool. It makes it seem like you're almost in like a cutscene, and that's one thing I really love about this. Now there is a stamina system in this game as well. So when you run too much, you'll notice, and you can adjust this as well in the settings, that I kind of get tired, and if I run enough, I'll kind of be like moving around, and my cursor will be like moving all over the place, and I'll have to take a second to rest to get it back. So see how my cursor's kind of moving a bit, and then it kind of slowly calms down. Again, you can adjust this in the settings. We're going to open that menu back up again, and you can adjust the stepping simulation. You can make it to where how frequently you step, so when you bob up and down, how frequently that happens. You can also choose the intensity of that to where how high and how low you'll bob, and it can get a little crazy. I have it at a pretty good setting right now, so we're going to keep it at that. Twitching intensity is exactly what I was saying. So if you turn this all the way down, see how I'm not moving anymore? But then when I crank it up all the way, you can see that I'm just idly moving without even doing anything. And that again can add to the realism if you want it. Of course, it could be a little unrealistic if you crank it up too high. And then we have the twitching scale as well, which seems to affect similar things as well. But see, now I'm not moving as much now that I'm kind of relaxed. And then you could turn off the crosshair. I personally don't like having the crosshair on, so I'm going to turn it off, but I will keep the little dot just to know where I'm shooting. Alright guys, with all that in to the game, we're going to now test this out. So I'm going to equip a gun. Now here's the problem. With the base Half-Life guns, I find that the bobbing's a little weird. Now it never used to be like this. In fact, this is why I stopped using it. I actually use this in a few videos, but I stopped using it because this. And the bobbing isn't even that intense right now. See how weird that looks with the weapon wonking up and down? It is a little bit better than what it used to be, but it never used to be like this before. I mean, look at this. This is a little insane. Like, I mean, I don't know why you'd be using the gun like that when you're running. So this isn't super realistic, but it is really cool, like bobbing up and down while you're running down like a corridor. Because, again, it just feels like you're playing a cutscene, and it's pretty awesome. And, again, you will be tired. See how, like, I have to, like, stop, and I'm moving a bit. And it does affect your aim. And, again, you aim wherever that small crosshair is. Alright, guys, now we're going to take a look at the focus mode. And this is kind of interesting because it really does change the game a bit. So, this is focus mode. Wait. I'm moving my mouse, but my screen isn't moving. And that is exactly what focus mode is. What it does is it allows you to pretty much shoot in a certain direction or towards something without having to move your whole screen. And of course you can move your whole screen. You'll have to get past a certain threshold pretty much. When you move left far enough, then you'll move the screen, or of course up, or down, or right. Now you can adjust this threshold to make it smaller or wider, and you do that by going to the settings, going into the focus mode options here, and you can choose the left pan, you can adjust that, the up and down, and there you go. And now you'll see, look how far now I can move before the screen moves. It is pretty insane. Alright guys, so we have Odessa spawned right down here. We're going to pull out the crossbow here, and you'll notice that if I had focus mode off, which right now I have focus mode off, which by the way, you could bind this. It has a guide in the menu to show you what you want to bind it to. So if you do want to bind this to a key, like I have it to X, toggle it on, toggle it off, you could totally do that. So this is with it off, so say I'll shoot Odessa. I'll shoot him. I have to move my screen a bit, shoot him. Now I don't have to move my screen as much because I do have that lag feature again where the screen kind of lags behind, just to add some smoothness. But now, my friends, we're going to spawn Odessa, and we're going to use focus mode. So I'm going to equip focus mode, and now you'll see I can shoot both Odessas without even moving my screen. And this is even more cool when you use the gravity gun here. So I'll use focus mode. I'll pick this up, and I can like shoot him like that. As you can see, look, I'm doing all this. Well, I had to move my screen there, but I'm doing most of this without even moving my screen, and it's really cool. Again, if you want to adjust it, you can make it longer or shorter. Another thing you can do is you can change some sliders here, like the alignment meters. One is your run speed reference, and what it says right here is these are modifiers used as reference to simulate Sharpeye behavior. For example, run speed reference is used as a reference to determine which speed is considered as exhausting. So you could change that, and you can also adjust your stamina recovery, and you can see a little black bar here that is your stamina. And if I lower my recovery down and crank some of these up, you can already see I'm starting to wobble a bit more. But let's see if we can run and get exhausted here. This should be interesting. I'll turn off focus mode just so we can turn easier. It is a bit hard to move when you have focus mode enabled, but again, you can tweak it to where the threshold is kind of small. That way you don't constantly have to move your mouse all the way to the right just to move the screen a bit. Alright, so we're running for a bit. I can already totally tell that we are getting exhausted because when I'm running, you can just see my screen gets a little crazy. Alright, let's see if we can open that up and see if we can catch it. So there's my stamina. And you can see how much I'm moving. See how crazy I'm moving right now. And that bar is slowly filling up. And that's because we have our stamina recovery at 0. But of course, you can adjust that because I wouldn't want to do this. So, like, let's try, like, shooting something. As you can see, again, the recoil also has an effect. But the wobbling could make it kind of hard to shoot something. And again, that adds to the realism a bit, but of course this isn't super realistic unless I have like some kind of lung disease or something. Then I don't think I would be this tired. But who knows? So we're going to adjust this now, get our stamina back. See now how smooth it is and how I'm not even wobbling at all. So that is a huge impact on how you play the game, depending on what you set it at. Another thing you can do is you can color the crosshairs too. You can do breathing simulation, which is of course with the bobbing. And you can also adjust some of the sounds here. So you can turn the footstep volume up, which I'm going to do. Turn the breathing volume up, which I'm also going to do in case you guys couldn't hear it. And you can choose the wind minimum velocity to where you'll hear the wind. So pretty much when you're running, you'll hear like the wind zoom past you. You can choose the threshold of that to make it to where you don't have to run as fast to hear the wind. Or you can make it to where you have to run even faster. Or in this case, running wouldn't be enough, so you have to be flying through the air faster. You can also allow the wind sound on the ground, which we're going to do. And you can do it while no clipping, which I'm not going to do because that would be annoying. Alright, so with that out of the way, you can already hear the wind. Let me be quiet for a second. But another thing is that you wouldn't feel wind like this unless it was super windy outside. But anyway, guys, yeah, if we just go into this menu again, there is some advanced stuff here. So you can see everything that's enabled, like Sharpeye's enabled, motion, bobbing, yada yada yada, all that stuff. Another thing as well is you can tweak some things here. So you have a master scale. You can use this integrated motion blur extension, which, okay, so that's interesting. But you can also enable Sharpeye motion blur and oh my god, yeah, you can crank the blur up. That might be a little nauseating. But this is kind of cool because it mimics how the eye works. Because if you guys know, in your peripheral vision, it's obviously probably not blurry, but it's also not clear. Like, you can't make out fine details because where the fovea is in the eye, that is where you get true 20/20 vision, and that's where you get most of your vision, which is about the length of, I believe, 2 of your thumbs stretched out together. That little area is where you focus. Like right now I'm looking at the camera, I cannot see my screen very well. I can see it, but I can't make out details. Like, I for the life of me, couldn't tell you what my health is right now. I can see my health, but I can't make out the number because I can't focus on it enough. And now I know it's 100 because, well, I didn't die. I didn't take any damage or anything. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. There's some shortcuts here to activate the Sharpeye menu. You can press F9, or of course you could bind that to any key you want to open up the Sharpeye menu instead of having to go hold Q, go into the menu, blah blah blah. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. This wasn't really a funny video. This was more of a I guess an instruction video for Sharpeye. If you guys ever wanted it, then you can watch this video, and hopefully I helped you guys a bit. But also I wanted to show this off because this was one of the add-ons I used to play back in the day. But this video's gone long enough. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you did like this video, please let me know by leaving a like, or if you want, you can subscribe. And also check out my VR channel where I do VR videos. I'll have a VR video up there very soon. Very soon. Maybe within the next few days. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and until next time, farewell.